That red 10-4. 6-2, David.
This man was just walking his dog early this morning when he was shot, and it certainly appears today like he was a target. While police have not said that, it was just before 7 a.m. the 62-year-old man left his apartment building. He was on the corner of 74th Street and 7th Ave, a pretty busy street here in Bay Ridge, taking his dog for a walk when he was shot multiple times in the head and shoulder. Police immediately responded to a 911 call, and they transported the victim to a local hospital where he later died. This morning, we were able to speak with some people who knew the victim, who said he was well known in this neighborhood, and they can't understand why someone would harm him.
Oh, he was the best kid in the world. Real good guy. We all love him.
We Puerto Ricans, we came in the neighborhood back in 1964 on 60th Street, and we've always been very, very close friends. Something happens to him, I'm always there for him. Very generous, and not only me, but with everyone.
Meanwhile, an arrest tonight in connection with another shooting in New York City. George Vayos, charged with murder for a deadly shooting yesterday in Bay Ridge. Police say Michael Scully was shot several times after a dispute with another man early yesterday morning in front of his home in Bay Ridge. Scully able to make it back inside his home, but that's where he collapsed.
The suspect that was arrested in connection to Michael Scully's death. That he lives in your building, right here.
Yeah, he does.
Tell me about him. Have you seen him before? What is he like?
I mean, what I know of him, he lived, well, it's a first floor apartment, and something that I know about him is that he liked bikes. I would often see him, bicycles. Yes, just regular, just 2-feet pedal bikes. You see him biking up and down in the neighborhood, and he would also fix bikes on the first floor lobby. So you pass it, you could see him when you enter the building.
Did he? Do you know what he did for a living or anything?
My understanding was that he was on SSI. So.
He's a 52-year-old male.
Yeah, I mean, I never knew how old he was. I read that, so I never actually knew how old he was or he is. I mean, to me, as someone who lived in the same building, he was always cordial. Hello. They had a cat, and the cat would go up to the second floor.
You mentioned Dave. Did he have a wife or?
I believe it was his girlfriend. I believe it was actually her apartment.
Oh, okay. So he was living with her.
Yeah. He took care of her.
He fixed bikes.
Yeah. And oh God.
Maybe you spoke to him. Did he anything off about him that you may have noticed?
I mean, I would just say, me personally, no, he was always very respectful, very cordial to me. Hello. And I even remember him just helping me with some heavy items a few years ago. So to me personally, he was always cordial.
He didn't seem like somebody who might shoot and kill somebody.
Well, that's definitely not the first thing that I thought of. I mean, definitely if you were here during the day, you would hear other stories, because different tenants would have different experiences, and those who lived here even longer than myself, although I've lived here for a while. But and
anything bad? Any conflicts?
Well, I do know that there was a conflict with a neighbor on Friday, and
just a few days prior to the shoot.
Yes, Friday, I believe it was the 4th, so just last Friday. So that's
anything specific? at all?
I think there was just an issue with the neighbor. I think he was blocking the neighbor's ability to exit, and the neighbor was trying to go to work.
Like the hallway, elevator?
No, sorry, this was on the street. This was outside on the street, so I don't know exactly
Like a
how.
car, or?
Well, to my knowledge, he didn't have a car. To my knowledge, but I mean, but
Just preventing him from physically...
but somehow there was some issue where I don't know if he was taking up the neighbor's time, but there was just some issue. But the other thing that I did hear was that he was bothering another neighbor's wife who lives on this street. The other neighbor who lived in another building spoke to I know it's confusing, but was speaking to the neighbor who had a conflict about him. So it just depends on who you speak to and what pictures or the fuller picture that you may get. Because like I said, to me, he was always courteous, always a hello, let me hold the door. Yeah.
And I believe the New York Post reported something about that he may have had conflict in regards to money with Michael Scully.
I've read stuff, but just kind of like many people, I don't know. I mean, I've read that as well, but I don't know. The one thing that I will say is that seemed odd, not odd, or that caught my attention was one, it happening so early, because just personally, I would usually just see him later on in the day, later on,
not
like
that
the afternoon,
early.
Not that early. So that
happened
was
like 7 a.m. or something.
I think I read 6:50.
Yeah. I was there when they took Michael out, and I saw his body looked in really bad shape.
I saw the blood splatter. Oh my God.
And the neighbors, even I spoke to, reported they heard shots that were fired.
Well,
very unusual, they said.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you might hear, because it's right by the highway, so maybe you might hear, I don't know, but that almost might be like background noise. But yeah, I thought the time of day that just stuck out to me, because I've never seen him that early, and I am someone who I do get up. I did leave a little bit later that morning because it was a long weekend. Because someone's been picking me up. We go swimming in the mornings, so we'll meet at 6:40. So I thought, oh wow, had it been like a weekday. But at any rate,
what was your reaction when you first heard it? How did you hear the news?
My mother, who lives in the neighborhood, which news? The news that someone was murdered, or
when Michael was shot?
I thought, really? What? It was, I think it was just confusing. It was, and maybe I've just kind of taken it for granted, just feeling relatively safe living in the neighborhood for as long as I have. I mean, I know anything can happen anywhere, but I mean, what is that? Not even a 10-minute walk from here, and I would walk along 7th Avenue, and I passed that fence.
74th and 7th.
Oh yeah, I passed it because I would literally just walk up the avenue and walk up 7th up to 82nd or so, and then come back. So I've passed that residence. It's just things that you do that you don't think about it because it's normal. It's just your everyday, and so it was unsettling. Definitely yesterday, just to find out, and then it's just even more. It's something. There was just something when I read where he was shot. I thought, wow, that feels really personal. And then this morning, I woke up and there was no police tape, so I saw the blood, and it's.
You mentioned you saw the blood. Where did you see it?
Oh, I walked over there because there's no, because I went, like I said, I live in the neighborhood. And so when I found out yesterday afternoon, I was just curious, so I walked over, but you couldn't get to the property because there was the blue tape,
right? Yeah.
the blue police tape, but the tape, you just have a remnants of the tape. on the gate. And so when I could pass where the tape was yesterday, and I could only also imagine.
Was it on the steps on the sidewalk? Or
No,
something?
it's on the sidewalk, and they're just like these big droplets of blood, and you see, or I can envision, as they were talking about how he was shot on the corner, and then you could trace the blood going back to his house.
Mm-hmm.
You could see it, and I think just seeing that, it made it real. I knew that it happened, but there was just something about like, oh my goodness,
You see it for
that
yourself.
yesterday, because when I went in the morning, I'm like, yesterday someone was alive here 24 hours, and it's just like in disbelief, and the thing of it, like, it's not Law and Order, like, this is real life. It's not, because it's one thing when you think, oh, you see crime shows, but I'm like, no, this is happening in my own neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And to come back here yesterday afternoon to talk to my neighbors, hey, did you hear about what happened? And then 7 o'clock to find out you can't go downstairs, the neighbor was just arrested.
That's when you first found out.
Well, that's when I first found out about George. I was leaving. It was going 7 o'clock, close to 7 o'clock, and a neighbor was just hanging out, and he just said, wait, I was just told to wait. The neighbor was just arrested. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
You were wondering why he was arrested.
Well, I mean, I tell you, my thought did go to what's going on in the neighborhood. I did see detectives. And so I saw detectives looking on the avenue here and on 7th Avenue with the badges and the holsters in that afternoon. Okay. But never did I think that it would lead. There was just no thought that it was going to leave here.
Right to your home.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and as I was walking down, I thought, okay, wow, great. There's no police. I mean, but I'm just
I
trying
kind of
to process
expected to see
it.
police here, but I guess,
No, they
change
left.
of shift
The crime scene. The crime scene unit was here. I don't know what time they left. 5 o'clock maybe. And then they closed up the apartment, or they put on a padlock. And then I guess the key was handed over to the police.
And no one else lives at that apartment? You mentioned his girlfriend.
Well, it was her apartment. I knew that. It was her apartment.
Does she still lives there, or
I was told that she was taken to the hospital last night.
after what happened?
Well, after, oh my God, yeah, after they came to, they didn't have, my understanding was that they didn't have a warrant when they came last night. So they came under they said that they were doing a welfare check on her.
Oh, okay. From what I've noticed, if there is a welfare check, it could give them a reason to make entry,
And it makes it. I
like,
mean,
thinking someone might be dead or in
well,
need of
it
help.
makes sense because most of this, well, now, and again, I know who she is. I haven't seen her in years, though.
Do you know her name by any chance?
I do. It's Pamela.
Just the first name, or?
Pamela Kennedy, or Pamela Vernocki Kennedy. But Pamela Kennedy. And she's lived in the building for a while. All right, thank you.
Alrighty, thanks again, do appreciate it.